Welcome. Today, I wanted to discuss one of the most controversial topics in Star Trek. Does the transporter kill the traveler and it create a copy clone of the person on the other side? Let's get to it. A little backstory. The transporter on Star Trek was created to address the time and cost constraints of the show. Originally, Gene Roddenberry initially envisioned landing the ship on each visit, but that would have required complex and expensive sets, model work, and significant episode time spent on landing and taking off. A shuttlecraft was considered, but the full-size shooting model was not ready in time for filming. According to online sources, someone brought up the 1958 film of The Fly, where scientists invented a teleportation device. It's said that the transporter is one of the most elegant triumphs of the Federation. It bends the laws of physics and biology. It converts your matter into energy, your body into a stream of data. That data is transmitted, disassembled, reallocated, and reassembled. To the outside observer, you disappear in one place and reappear in another. Simple, efficient, remarkable, and perhaps quite terrifying. But consider this, not long ago, not once but twice, the transporter made a copy of a person on the show. First person was Thomas Riker. An ion storm interfered with the standard transport on the show. The beam split, one person reassembled safely aboard the USS Potemkin, the other, identical in every way, was stranded on the surface below. Both were William Riker, same DNA, same experiences, same emotions, but they diverged from that moment forward. Thomas Riker became a second man. He chose his own name, his own identity, path. Eventually joining the Marquis, seeking purpose in a galaxy that had no place for a second self. Was his soul split, or was he the same soul in a mirrored timeline? If the transporter can clone the body, then what of the mind, the consciousness? What does that say about identity? Next person is William Boimler. A young ensign aboard the Titan, Boimler was cloned during a failed transport recovery. A second Boimler rematerialized, same memories, same voice, same nervous laugh. The original returned to the Cerritos, but the clone continued on the Titan and took on a new identity, William. He even joined Section 31 after his death was faked. Once again, the pattern holds. Two identical men becoming two separate lives, both real, both sentient, neither diminished by the existence of the other. It wasn't just a body that was duplicated, it was a mind, a being. The fact unsettles me more than I care to admit. I'm going to go on a tangent here. What about the soul? If you remember in Star Trek Search for Spock, Spock's cartridge was transferred to a seemingly mindless body. Also, what about the preservation of Hugh Goldberg's essence in the mycelial network and his resurrection in Star Trek Discovery? What this leads us to believe is that the human soul is a matter of fact in Star Trek. The transporter not only transports your matter, but also your energy that makes you you. And then there are the edge cases, the anomalies that push the transporter even further into the realm of the metaphysical. The first edge case we're going to talk about is Montgomery Scott, who stored his own pattern in the buffer of the Jenolan for 75 years. When the Enterprise D found him, he emerged confused but whole out of the pattern buffer on the USS Jenolan, not aware of the passing of the decades. His consciousness seemingly paused, stored like a program, waiting for execution. If death is the end of awareness, what do we call that state? Our next edge case is Reginald Barclay, who was conscious in the matter stream in the 7th season. He saw entities, creatures moving about throughout the beam. It was the crew of the Yosemite who tried to modify the biofilter to rid themselves of quasi-energy microbes. The same microbes now in Reginald. He wasn't hallucinating, he wasn't dreaming, he was aware, and he wasn't supposed to be, according to Star Trek lore. How do we resolve what we know about Scott's experiences and Barclay's? Yes, I know it's just a sci-fi show, but bear with me a little longer. Then we have Dr. Mbenga's daughter, Rukia, who lived in the pattern buffer for months, suspended between rematerializations as her father searched for a cure. She had no memory of that time, but when if she had been aware? We don't know, we just assume she wasn't. Ultimately, however, Rukia joined a non-corporeal entity named Deborah, allowing her consciousness to live on, even if her body could not. And then we have, for our last case, Hoshi Sato, transported for only 8 seconds, but trapped in what she experienced as hours of limbo. Alone, intangible, watching her crewmates like a ghost. For her, time inside the transporter stretched. Her body was restored, but what of the trauma? If Scott didn't perceive time, what happened to Sato? When you put it all together, the transporter doesn't just raise questions, it raises specters. Ghosts of selves, versions of people, duplicates, echoes, flickering across space like candlelight refracted in mirrors. If Thomas Riker and William Boimler can both live and think and choose, if their minds are copied alongside their molecules, then identity isn't singular, it's fractal. And if that's true, then what is death in this context? If every transport is the disintegration of someone, followed by the birth of another, are they not just a sequence of simulations, each one believing it's the original? What's curious is that transporter technology exists in other stories. One that comes to mind is the novel Kraken by China Melville. A Trekkie uses quote-unquote magic to make a transporter and is haunted by dozens of his own ghosts. Where does this lead us in the Star Trek universe? From what I can tell, as I mentioned before, not only is your matter transported, but also your soul. In Star Trek, you are killed, your matter sent to a destination, and your body is put back together, and your soul is added back. What about Tom Riker and William Boimler? Maybe it's like Harry Potter, where you split your soul until you go insane. I don't know. Maybe the writers of the show didn't get the memo. Who knows? So does the transporter kill the traveler? It sure does, but you're resurrected on the other side. Wouldn't that make for an interesting plot?